This is Chip Maxwell, and you're listening to the Retire Smart podcast with David Brooks. To ban or not to ban? That is the question for the world-renowned app Tik Tok. In other news, consumer credit takes a nosedive, and Donald Trump launches a meme coin that skyrockets. Here is David's take on these stories. David, we are going to talk about TikTok. I want to get your take on TikTok. But first, you did send the team a chart on consumer credit. Well, you call it a nosedive to Great Recession levels. And I want to compare that with something you shared with me actually right before we sat down to record this show, that Procter & Gamble earnings beat estimates as shoppers buy more household staples. So on the one hand, some good news, but this chart about consumer credit, now I can see, now we're not talking about COVID. There's a huge drop for COVID, but we're out of COVID, and consumer credit went back up in 2021, 2022. Then in 2023 starts to wobble, and boom, there's the drop in 24. What's happening?
Well, credit card companies are tightening the belt. In other words, access to credit is getting pulled away. So if you have like a credit card, let's say you had a $10,000 line of credit on your Visa. Well, if your income is in a certain level and your credit score is kind of in that mid-level from the, call it 580 to 680 point range, your FICO score, credit card companies are watching this closely because you're higher liability to them to potentially miss a payment, carry a bigger balance, go over your limit. And so they're trimming the amount of available credit that you may have. This happens first and foremost to people that are already overextended. So if, say, you had somebody had a $5,000 credit card limit, but they had a $5,600 balance. They can't charge anything new, and they're having to pay these minimum payments. They're getting behind. And so what they do is they cut the access to credit to maybe $3,500. So even if they paid down $2,000, they still couldn't use their credit card. And so what happens, though, is people feel trapped, Chip, and then they end up trying to use another credit card, and they defer this one more, and the delinquency rates, which we see, are going up. But this is showing you access to the credit. So if you're in a pinch and you need to go borrow money in an emergency, less dollars are going to be available. And this is on home lines of credit cards, any kind of revolving credit. Even you might have a line of credit established at Nebraska Furniture Mart. I do. If my wife goes there, we have, because it's usually free interest or something for 6 months or whatever. So we have a line there. Mine's pretty liberal. It's pretty big, but they could trim that back just because they want to reduce their potential exposure to future delinquencies. And so this is a precursor to most likely a downturn in the consumer's ability to spend money.
Well, some of those consumers must have been spending it on toilet paper and laundry soap and stuff because Procter & Gamble did pretty well.
Well, and again, Procter & Gamble, what do they make? Deodorant, toothpaste, right? They make the items you're going to buy recessionary period or not. And so that's my point is we saw the downshift from Target to Walmart. We talked about that in recent shows. And you're seeing it play out here. What are the consumers? They're still buying, but what are they buying? They're not buying Louis Vuitton purses. Luxury goods are starting to fade. So the discretionary is getting harmed, but the staples you're still going to buy. And that's the old adage. You used to buy beer and cigarettes in recession. They actually went up in sales. People were depressed. They smoked more and they drank more, right? And so consumer staples, you're still going to buy soap, laundry detergent. You still have to do the household chores. And Procter & Gamble, I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to not find 20 items in your home that have Procter & Gamble on them, right? So they do better in rocky times because people load up, especially if there's a deal. I know, I'm very particular on certain products that I buy, and if they're on sale, I'll buy more of them, in multiple packs, et cetera. So they're benefiting from this downturn in the economic or consumer behavior we're seeing.
All right, David, on to TikTok. Our colleague John Lemley stopped by my office and we started chatting about this topic because there's so many tangents, so many different offshoots of this. It looked like TikTok was going to be banned. I have 7 children, ages 20 to 35, and they're active on TikTok. One of them was one of those who got so angry that he signed up for Red Note, the domestic Chinese. I said, that means the Chi-Coms are even more in your phone than they were before. He doesn't care. He was so angry about the prospective ban on TikTok. Now, I guess with Trump coming in and it's on, it's off, maybe it's going to happen, maybe not. But there are many things to talk about. But one, David, is here's a USA Today headline, and this is reflective of a lot of headlines in the news on this aspect of it. TikTok ban could have consequences far beyond just the video app, and the reference here was to financial markets and some major players in the stock market. What's your take on that aspect of this?
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. So first you understand why the ban. First of all, the user agreement, like when you sign up, most people don't read any of that, right? When you put a new app on your phone, and I got a new app or new phone here recently, we were talking about that, and it's working differently than the one that I've had for 8 years. So I'm trying to learn some new things. But when you download an app, you have to agree to the terms and policies of that app. TikTok, right in its agreement, will go in and find all the information in your phone, banking information, stock information, sensitive information, insurance data, and transport it to the Chinese government. It's clearly stated in the language of the user agreement. That is the reason for the federal ban, because they are owned primarily by a communist country that literally we are at economic war with. And so these people, I don't care, well, you should care. However, I get it. Economically, though, so who supports this ban? Well, the other social media apps that are competing with its time for sure love the idea of it banned. So they lobbied Congress, hey, this is a bad thing. So Congress, bipartisan, wrote a bill and passed it in both the House and Senate, and then President Biden signed it. The ban, however, got appealed, went before the Supreme Court, and they said the ban is legit. And so therefore, it was set to go offline, which it did. And then Trump, through an executive order, which I don't think has the power to do this, but said, you know what, we'll give him a 75-day thing, so it came back online. And again, I don't have TikTok on my phone. I've certainly seen videos reposted in other social media apps from TikTok. But you needed, the lesson learned here. So your son getting for a further red app, come on. I mean, wake up, just so you can get the joy. Now, what's amazing about TikTok is the algorithm. It feeds up content in a way that keeps users engaged like we've never seen on an app. So you have competing things like Reels on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all these other, and of course X or Twitter, all these other social media platforms are losing out screen time. And again, you got to have more discipline to get off your phones, folks. But anyway, I was recently without a phone. My phone got destroyed on a recent trip to Kansas City, so I went 72 hours without a phone. While it's kind of nerve-wracking, it was liberating. I want to tell you, just 72 hours. I highly recommend everybody do that. Put your phone down, put it in a safe, and see if you can go 3 days without it.
A purge, some fasting.
You will survive, and it's amazing. But anyway, so economically, this has far-reaching impacts, because this could, if TikTok goes away, those eyeballs, that time, those ads, that revenue is going to go somewhere else. And so Facebook or Meta would be the biggest benefactor, at least by our initial analysis. Again, if TikTok does get sold, and I think that's ultimately what happens, is they have to break away. China wants the profits, and so they'll somehow divest and have it through some subsidiary in Hong Kong or something. But the data can't flow back. But Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank fame has offered up. Several hedge funds have offered up. So there's multiple bidders to purchase this, and most likely will sell between $25 and $50 billion. I mean, that's not small potatoes here, but there's some economic ramifications, but we'll have to wait and see what the outcome is.
David, we just have a minute or so left, but I want to squeeze this in. Whatever you think about Donald Trump as president, the news cycle will never be boring now for the next 4 years. And here's a Forbes headline. Donald Trump launches Dollar Trump meme coin. Token hits 9 billion market cap. I think it maybe even went up a little bit from there. Some are raising ethical concerns. Some people are saying this hurts rather than helps Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. What is your take on Trump and his meme coin?
Look, I mean, there's people that have made money. I don't really understand the meme coin. Someone bought just over $1 million. You can track these purchases. $1 million worth of this coin when it was 18 cents, and it went to $72. And this person had made a couple $100 million in 24 hours and hadn't cashed it out, right? And then it came back, I don't know, 20 or 40% from its highs, at least recently. And then Melania has one too, a meme coin that launched like 40 hours later.
Yes.
I would not invest in these things personally. I don't understand. There's zero value here. There's nothing to usually. It's just you're trading dollars to somebody else and see who gets caught last. And if you remember the 15 minutes of fame from the girl, the Hakto girl, whatever, she had a coin and cashed out on $50 million and basically suckered her followers. That's just what happened out of this, because that's going to happen here. I would not invest it. I would highly encourage people to understand the amount of risk you're taking in these meme coins. And you remember we talked about Fart Coin literally recently on this show. going through the roof. But there's like 4 people that have come out. They cashed out and made themselves multimillionaires. So if you're willing to gamble, certainly you can hit a home run. But this is not for the faint of heart, and certainly not going to be part of an asset allocation for our average retiree.
Thank you for listening to the Retire Smart podcast with David Brooks. If you want to learn how to generate lifetime income, reduce your tax bill, and maintain your lifestyle in retirement, visit retiresmartpodcast.com. And make sure to subscribe to keep up with new episodes every week.